When Emily Rodriguez got that first text at 6:47 a.m., she had no idea her entire world was about to crumble. "You're the most incredible woman I've ever met," it read. She'd only matched with Marcus on the dating app 12 hours earlier. Most people would call it too much, too soon. But Emily had been single for 2 years after her divorce. And honestly, the attention felt amazing. Marcus wasn't just texting her constantly. He was sending flowers to her office, writing her poetry, calling her his soulmate after just 3 days. It was intoxicating. "Girl, this is moving way too fast," her best friend Sarah warned over coffee. "You literally just met this guy." Emily laughed it off. "You're just jealous because your boyfriend barely remembers your anniversary." But deep down, something felt off. She just couldn't put her finger on what. The red flags started small. Marcus would get upset if she didn't respond to his texts within minutes. "I was worried something happened to you," he'd say, his voice dripping with concern. "You mean everything to me, babe. I can't lose you." Within 2 weeks, he'd convinced her to delete her dating apps. "You don't need those anymore," he said, pulling her close. "You have me now, forever." Emily's phone buzzed constantly. Good morning texts at dawn, lunchtime check-ins, evening love letters that made her heart race. He'd show up at her workplace with surprise coffee, at her gym with protein shakes, at her apartment with takeout from her favorite restaurant. It was like he was everywhere, all the time. "How did you even know I was here?" she asked one evening when he appeared at her book club meeting. "I pay attention to everything about you," he said, kissing her forehead. "That's what love is." But here's what Emily didn't realize yet. This wasn't love at all. The love bombing was working perfectly. Marcus had studied her social media for weeks before they matched. He knew she loved romantic comedies, Italian food, and had trust issues from her divorce. He knew exactly which buttons to push. "You're nothing like my ex-wife," he'd whisper during their marathon phone calls. "She never appreciated me the way you do." Emily ate it up. She felt special, chosen, adored. 3 weeks in, the first crack appeared. Emily had plans with Sarah for their monthly sisters' night. When she mentioned it to Marcus, his face darkened. "I thought we were spending tonight together," he said, his voice suddenly cold. "I already made reservations at that fancy place you mentioned." "I'm sorry, but I've had these plans for months. Sarah's going through a rough time with her mom's illness." Marcus went silent. Then came the tears. I love you so much, Em, more than I've ever loved anyone. The thought of you choosing someone else over me, it breaks my heart." His shoulders shook. "Maybe I'm being too clingy. Maybe you don't feel the same way about me." Emily's heart melted. "Of course I feel the same way. I'll call Sarah and reschedule." That night, over champagne and candlelight, Marcus proposed. 1 month after their first date. "I know it's fast," he said, getting on one knee in the middle of the restaurant. "But when you know, you know. Marry me, Emily. Be mine forever." The entire restaurant erupted in applause. Emily's head was spinning. This was what she'd always dreamed of, right? A man who loved her completely, desperately, passionately. She said yes. But the moment that ring slipped onto her finger, something shifted. It was subtle at first. Marcus's text became more demanding. His surprise visits felt less romantic and more invasive. He wanted to know where she was every second of every day. "It's just because I love you so much," he'd explain whenever she questioned him. "I want to protect you from everything bad in this world." Emily started making excuses to avoid her friends. It was easier than dealing with Marcus's sulking when she spent time with anyone else. Her sister Jessica called less frequently. Her coworkers stopped inviting her to happy hour. "You're isolating yourself." Sarah confronted her during what would be their last lunch together for months. "That's not true. He adores me. He'd do anything for me." "Would he allow you to have dinner with your best friend without guilt-tripping you?" Emily couldn't answer that question. The engagement party Marcus threw was everything Emily had ever wanted. Fairy lights, her favorite flowers, a jazz quartet playing their song, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was performing in someone else's play.
Marcus gave a speech that brought tears to everyone's eyes. "Emily saved my life," he declared. "She's my everything, my reason for breathing. I promise to love her with every fiber of my being, every single day for the rest of our lives." Emily smiled and nodded, but inside, she felt hollow. When had love started feeling like drowning? The wedding planning consumed everything. Marcus had opinions about every detail. The flowers, the venue, the guest list, especially the guest list. "Do we really need to invite your college friends?" he asked, scrolling through their names. "Most of them are single and bitter. They'll just bring negative energy to our perfect day." "They're my friends, Marcus. They've been there for me through everything." "But I'm here for you now. Isn't that enough?" That question haunted Emily. Wasn't it enough? Why did she feel so empty when she had everything she'd always wanted? The breaking point came 3 months before the wedding. Emily's father had a heart attack. She was at the hospital holding her mother's shaking hands when Marcus called. "Where are you? You missed our cake tasting appointment." "My dad's in the ICU," Emily whispered, trying not to cry. "I can't leave right now." "But the bakery can't reschedule. This was our only chance to lock in the flavors." Emily stared at her phone in disbelief. "My father almost died today." "And I'm sorry about that, babe. I really am. But life goes on. We have a wedding to plan. He's going to be fine, right? So let's focus on us." That's when Emily finally saw it. The thing that had been nagging at her for months. Marcus didn't actually love her. He loved the idea of owning her. Love bombing. That's what Dr. Emily Carter called it during their first therapy session. Emily had finally worked up the courage to seek help after breaking off the engagement. The aftermath had been brutal. Marcus had bombarded her with hundreds of texts, shown up at her apartment crying and begging, sent flowers to her office with notes about how she was destroying the greatest love story ever written. "What you experienced," Dr. Emily Carter explained in her calm, professional voice, "is a manipulation tactic called love bombing. It's when someone overwhelms you with excessive attention, affection, and promises in order to gain control over you." Emily sat in the comfortable chair, tissues in her lap, finally understanding what had happened to her. The intense early attention wasn't genuine love. It was designed to create a trauma bond. By making you feel special and chosen, then gradually isolating you from your support system, Marcus was conditioning you to depend entirely on his approval. "But it felt so real," Emily whispered. "The way he looked at me, the things he said." Love bombers are often very skilled at reading people and telling them exactly what they want to hear. They study your insecurities and vulnerabilities, then present themselves as the perfect solution to all your problems. Dr. Carter leaned forward slightly. "The fact that you recognized something was wrong and sought help shows incredible strength, Emily. Many people get trapped in these cycles for years. Emily learned about the predictable pattern: idealization, devaluation, and discard. She'd escaped before reaching the final stage, but she'd seen enough to understand where it was heading. Recovery from love bombing takes time, Dr. Carter explained. Your brain formed neural pathways that associate love with intensity and drama. We need to rewire those connections and help you recognize what healthy love actually looks like. Over the following months, Emily worked on rebuilding her sense of self. She reconnected with Sarah, who cried with relief when Emily called to apologize. She started setting boundaries with men she dated. She learned to trust her instincts again. The process wasn't linear. Some days, Emily missed the intensity of Marcus's attention. The flowers, the constant texts, the feeling of being someone's entire world. But Dr. Carter helped her understand that sustainable love is built on respect, not obsession. Real love gives you space to breathe, Dr. Carter reminded her during one session. It enhances your life rather than consuming it. It makes you feel more like yourself, not less. Emily started journaling, identifying the warning signs she'd ignored. The pushing for quick commitment, the isolation from friends and family, the guilt trips when she tried to maintain independence, the way Marcus's love felt conditional on her complete devotion. 6 months after ending the engagement, Emily met David at her book club. He was quiet, thoughtful, and when she mentioned having plans with Sarah, he simply said, "That sounds nice. I hope you have fun." It took her a moment to realize there was no hidden meaning in his words. No manipulation, no guilt trip, just genuine support for her friendship. That's when she knew she was healing.
Dr. Carter smiled when Emily shared this breakthrough. You've learned to recognize the difference between love and control. That awareness will protect you for the rest of your life. Emily nodded, feeling lighter than she had in years. I used to think love was supposed to hurt a little. Like if someone wasn't jealous or possessive, they didn't really care. That's a common misconception, Dr. Carter replied. Healthy love is peaceful. It's consistent, supportive, and respects your autonomy. It doesn't require you to sacrifice your identity or your other relationships. Emily's healing journey wasn't over, but she finally understood what she was healing toward, not the fairy tale romance that Marcus had performed, but something real and sustainable, something that would make her feel more like herself, not less. And for the first time in years, Emily looked forward to finding out who that person really was.